RuPaul, the queen who reigned supreme. RuPaul Andre Charles was born on a crisp November day in 1960 in San Diego, California. From the very beginning, Ru's world was one of contrast, sunshine and shadows, dreams and struggles. Ru was the youngest of 4 children in a household that was both lively and tumultuous. Their mother, Ernestine Charles, was a dreamer, the kind of woman who spoke in mantras. One of her most memorable sayings, which would define Ru's life, was, "You're born naked, and the rest is drag." It was a philosophy that Ru would carry with them, even as a child navigating a world that didn't quite know what to make of someone so vibrant, so unapologetically themselves. But childhood wasn't all glitter and glamour. When Ru was 7, their parents divorced, leaving Ernestine to raise her 4 children alone. Money was tight, and so were emotions. Ru often felt like an outsider, not just because they were Black, but because they were something else entirely. RuPaul was a young boy who loved fashion, performance, and self-expression in a time when the world wasn't ready for someone like them. Still, even in the face of adversity, Ru dreamed big. In their bedroom, they sketched dresses, danced in front of mirrors, and imagined a life far beyond the confines of San Diego. That imagination became their escape, their sanctuary, and eventually, it became their reality. In the late 1970s, as a teenager, RuPaul left San Diego behind and set their sights on Atlanta, Georgia, a city brimming with possibility. Atlanta was where Ru began to experiment with their identity, finding a home in the city's burgeoning art and queer scenes. Ru enrolled in a performing arts program, though the classroom was only one stage for their self-discovery. The real magic happened in the clubs, the dive bars, and the underground art spaces. Ru's first foray into drag was raw and experimental. They performed punk rock numbers, adorned in thrift store wigs and mismatched costumes. It wasn't glamorous, but it was electrifying. RuPaul was discovering the power of transformation, of creating a persona that could command attention and spark joy. Atlanta was also where Ru met lifelong collaborators like Lady Bunny, who would later become an iconic drag queen in her own right. Together they threw wild parties, created avant-garde performances, and pushed the boundaries of what drag could be. Atlanta wasn't just a city for Ru. It was a proving ground, but RuPaul wanted more. The glittering lights of New York City called to them, and in the early 1980s, Ru packed their bags and headed to the Big Apple. New York City in the 1980s was a chaotic, vibrant wonderland of art, music, and rebellion. RuPaul dove headfirst into the city's drag and club scenes, performing at iconic venues like the Pyramid Club. The East Village was their playground, and Ru became a fixture in the underground art world. But life in New York wasn't easy. Ru struggled to make ends meet, living in tiny apartments and scraping by on performance gigs. Still, they were determined. With their towering height, magnetic charisma, and bold fashion choices, Ru began to stand out in a crowded scene. It was during this time that RuPaul refined their persona. They traded thrift store wigs for glamorous blonde ones, punk rock for disco beats, and raw experimentation for polished performances. RuPaul wasn't just a drag queen anymore. They were a star in the making. And then, in 1992, everything changed. RuPaul released Supermodel, You Better Work, a dance anthem that took the world by storm. The song was an instant hit, with its infectious beats and empowering lyrics. For the first time, a Black drag queen was dominating MTV, a space that had rarely celebrated queer Black artists. The music video for Supermodel was a revelation. Ru strutted down runways, posed like a supermodel, and exuded a confidence that was utterly magnetic. RuPaul had arrived. They weren't just a performer. They were a phenomenon. In 2009, RuPaul took their career to new heights, with the creation of RuPaul's Drag Race. The show began as a modest competition on Logo TV, but its impact was anything but small. Drag Race brought drag culture into the mainstream, celebrating queer artistry and storytelling in a way that had never been done before. Each season, drag queens from diverse backgrounds competed in challenges that showcased their charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. But Drag Race wasn't just a show about drag. It was a show about resilience, creativity, and self-love. Contestants shared their personal stories of struggle and triumph, creating a platform for queer voices that resonated with millions. RuPaul, as the host and creator, became the heart of the show. Their catchphrases, "Don't funks it up," and "If you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else?" became mantras for viewers around the world. As Drag Race grew in popularity, it spawned international spin-offs, won multiple Emmys, and cemented RuPaul's status as a cultural icon. But even as Ru basked in their success, they faced criticism. No trailblazer's journey is without obstacles, and RuPaul was no exception. Over the years, Ru faced critiques from within the queer community, particularly around issues of inclusion. Early seasons of Drag Race were criticized for not featuring trans and non-binary contestants, and Ru's comments about the role of trans performers in drag sparked heated debates. RuPaul responded to these critiques by evolving. Later seasons of Drag Race became more inclusive, featuring a broader range of performers and celebrating the diversity of drag culture. Ru's willingness to adapt showed their commitment to growth and their desire to uplift the queer community as a whole. RuPaul's impact on the world is immeasurable. They've transformed drag from a subculture into a celebrated art form and created a platform for queer voices to shine. Their message of self-love and empowerment has resonated with generations, inspiring millions to embrace their authenticity. RuPaul's legacy isn't just about their achievements. It's about the doors they've opened for others. As they once said, "When you become the image of your own imagination, it's the most powerful thing you could ever do." And RuPaul has done just that. They've become the image of self-love, resilience, and boundless creativity. A queen who reigned supreme and changed the world. Thank you for joining me on this journey through RuPaul's incredible life. Remember, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen? See you next time on QueerStory.
I'ma do what I want, when I want, how I want.